Welcome everyone to tonight's South Huron Council meeting. We welcome those members of the public there in their gallery here tonight, and we welcome those that are watching from home. Thanks to our staff for being in attendance and members of council for being here also. We'll ask everyone to make sure their cell phones are off, and ask everyone to rise for O Canada, please. Thank you, and recognize former Councillor Diane Flaubert is in attendance tonight, and also former Mayor Rob Morley in attendance tonight. Thank you for attending. We'll proceed with our land acknowledgement at this point. As we gather, we are reminded that the municipality of South Huron is situated on Treaty 29 land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history and home to First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people today. As a community, we have a responsibility to honor and respect this territory's significance for the Indigenous peoples who lived and continue to live upon it, and whose practices and spiritualities were tied to the land and continue to develop in relationship to the territory and its other inhabitants today. In the spirit of reconciliation and truth, we acknowledge the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee peoples on whose traditional territory we are meeting. So thank you, everyone. Make sure your cell phones are off, and turn to Ms. Mesula Carlson, our CEO, for amendments to the agenda.
That South Huron Council approves the agenda as presented.
And a mover, please. Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Neeb. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 6. Thank you. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof from members of council. Are there any disclosures at this time? Not seeing any. Thank you. We have no presentations, no delegations, no public meeting. We turn to 7.1. Ms. Mesula Carlson, please.
That South Huron Council adopts the minutes of the budget meeting of September 25th, 2023, and the regular council meeting of October 2nd, 2023, as printed and circulated.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Oak, seconded by Councillor Dietrich. Is there any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 6. Thank you. 8, please, Ms. Mesula Carlson.
That the minutes and reports of the following committees and or boards be received as presented to council. Exeter Business Improvement Area, minutes of August 16th, 2023. Police Services Board, minutes of September 12th, 2023, and June, July, August reports. Kirkton Woodham Pool Committee, Operations Update number 2.
And is there a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Oak, seconded by Councillor Neeb. Is there any discussion? Deputy Mayor, go ahead, please.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just on the Police Services Board, you'll maybe note that the minutes or the time that's been spent is quite a bit bigger in 2023 than in 2022. The weighted hours is 58:24 in 23 and 54:19 in 22. So that has to do with violent crimes seems to be the one that is really pushing it up. So I just wanted to make a note of that. And also I was asked a question before the meeting, which I'm quite happy that it was before. Gives me a little time to investigate. The speed spy. Staff have been using it. It's been put on Airport Line and Shipka Line, And there's some numbers coming, but they will be going through the next police services board and then they'll come back to council. So thank you for the question. That's all I have. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Deputy. Any other comments? Okay, not seeing any. We have a mover and a seconder. If there's no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 6. Thank you. 9.1, please.
That South Huron Council receives the report of Vanessa Colbert, Planning Coordinator, read 2023 third quarter planning summary report for information purposes.
And is there a mover? Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? That carries with 6. Thank you. 9.1.2.
That South Huron Council received the report from Craig Metzger, Senior Planner, read consent for severance, C58 2023, Morley Farms Inc. And that South Huron Council recommend to Huron County Council that consent for file C58 2023 be denied since it does not meet the policies for severance as set in the planner's report dated October 5th, 2023.
And do we have a mover? Moved by Councillor Dietrich. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Vaughn. Discussion. Councillor, we'll turn to Mr. Metzger here. We want to do the report, or do you have a question first?
Yeah, just looking forward to Craig's presentation to explain more of the file here.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Metzger.
Okay, thank you. I'll just share my screen. I believe I've done that correctly. This particular application is a surplus farmhouse severance. The subject lands are on just the north side of Wayland Line, close to Wayland Corners. The retained is a farm field, and the house is about halfway along the front property. This slide shows the parcel that was applied for to be severed. It's an existing one-story house. This is a 2020 era photo. Since then, there's been a large shop, kind of the northeast corner. It's 40 by 60 feet roughly. There's another small shed in the back. The septic system is in the front of the property. This is a photograph of the house. It was a one-story house with a 2-car attached garage. And then here's that larger accessory shed. You can see a bit of the backyard and then another better view of the shed itself. So we did circulate the application for comments. There were no comments from the public. Municipal staff have no objections. There were some comments if the application was going to be approved. Some of the standard ones would be the septic system be inspected, the municipal drain assessment be apportioned between the severed and the retained. In this case, that large accessory building, that shop or storage building, when it was built as an agricultural building. So there was no need for a fire rating of the walls. Now that there's a proposed to be a property line in fairly close proximity, either those walls would need to be upgraded to meet the OBC requirements or make sure that the property line is far enough away that they don't need to. I think it's fairly close to being far enough away. It might need to be a few meters farther. The field entrance location was questioned about where it is and whether any upgrades or installation would be necessary. There is an existing field entrance. It's very overgrown, primarily because there's a shared entrance with the field to the west that's being used. And then finally, ensure the field tiles are not on the severed parcel. And there's been subsequent information provided that shows there are no field tiles on the severed parcel. The reason the application is disputed and being recommended for approval is that it doesn't meet the policies for a surplus farmhouse severance. In the provincial policy statement, there are no new residential lots permitted in the agricultural area with one exception, and that would be a residence surplus to a farming operation as a result of farm consolidation. And the provincial policy statement goes on to define farm consolidation as a farmer acquiring an additional farm parcel to be operated as one farm operation. The property owner doesn't own another farm with a house, so this is not a farm consolidation that renders this particular house surplus, and the application fails to meet that fundamental test under the provincial policy statement. Similarly, both the county official plan and your South Huron official plan is set up similarly. The only new residential lots we permit in the agricultural area are surplus farmhouse severances or surplus farmhouses, and they're only surplus if it's a result of farm consolidation, which this application is not. So the application doesn't conform to the county plan or your South Huron plan brought forward for you, and that's in the section 5124 of the Planning Act. And that requires regard to be had to whether the severance conforms to the county OP and the South Huron official plan, which this application doesn't, so it doesn't meet that requirement of the Planning Act either. We have in other instances had someone want to sever a house off that wasn't surplus to the farm operation, didn't meet the policy. There is the option for them to sever the house off if they sell the retained farmland to a farmer who would be eligible. That's not the case here. The property owner does not wish to retain it. So for that, and since the property owner does, the house would be surplus, the only option I have is to recommend denial because it doesn't meet the tests in terms of consistency with the provincial policy statement and conformity with both of the official plans.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Metzger. Comments from members of council? Deputy, I see you're reaching for your microphone. Go ahead, please.
Just had to get the right page. Thank you. The fire rate shop storage buildings. How far would that property line have to be moved to comply with this severance? Or do we know that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the deputy mayor, we don't know for sure. See, Mike turned his camera on. He can provide more information, but I believe it's only a few meters.
Mr. Wolf, did you want to comment?
Yeah, just through you, Mayor. Mr. Metzger was correct. It is probably just a couple meters. It's a calculation based on the use of the building as well as the area of that exposed building face in relation to the property line. I did some very high level ones and I believe it's just a couple meters-ish.
Thank you. Deputy, you're satisfied with that?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
A house on it and has allowed the severance of the house farm. As just one.
Mr. Metzger?
If you approve this,
You're making a recommendation to county council. It's county council who is the approval authority and would be making the decision on whether to approve it or not.
Please go ahead.
and just one last question, if it's recommended to deny it, does it still go to county council or does it die here? Not go to county council if this council decides to accept your recommendation?
Mr. Metzger?
No, it's your comments are only for the benefit of county council. Whether you recommend it be approved or denied, it still goes to county council for a decision.
Thank you. Councillor Dietrich, you had a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. How do we change the policy? I've been wanting to do this for 15 years. You know, a handshake's God's law, but a good lawyer can just about do anything. Thank you.
Mr. Metzger, comment, or do you have a comment?
Yes, it requires a change at the provincial level in terms of the province's provincial policy statement. The province did come out with a draft replacement for the provincial policy statement. called it the provincial planning statement. Even in their revised provincial planning statement, this policy did not change. So we would need to change it at the provincial level.
Thank you.
And we can do that? Change the provincial policy?
Mr. Metzger, do you want to comment further on that?
Sure. You would need to convince the province to change their provincial plan, policy statement. So you can't change it. It has to be done by the province.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Need, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mayor Finch. I'm just wondering, Craig, if you can outline the intention behind the sections of the provincial policy statement. So from my understanding, it's to retain agricultural land. But in this case, we're just talking about, I think, 2.5 acres of a farmhouse. And I'm just curious as to just what is the intention behind the policy statement and the specific sections that you've outlined.
Mr. Metzger?
Sure. Broadly, the provincial policy statement directs all new residential development to settlement areas. So towns, villages, hamlets, or cottage areas along the lakeshore. That at the broad level, that's where it says all new residential development should be. And our prime agricultural areas, those areas should be protected and not have any residential development whatsoever. So no new separate residential lots. That's to protect the agricultural system at a large level and not allow non-agricultural residential development to occur. They do allow this one exception in allowing a farmhouse to be severed off where it becomes surplus because a farmer is expanding their operation by buying additional farms.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, we have a mover and a seconder. This is to Ms. Masuo Calls, do you have a comment? I don't know if you had a comment or not.
No, I don't have a comment, but council may consider splitting the motion and voting on two parts of it.
Councillor Oak, is that your intent?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I was going to make the recommendation that we would split this recommendation if it was all right with the mover and seconder.
Are the mover and seconder in favor of that? Alex?
Run that by me again. I didn't.
My recommendation is to split the two recommendations here into two recommendations. The first one is the receiving of the report. And then the second, and so we could, and then the second one we can discuss.
Yes. Madam Clerk, could you read that first part of the recommendation, please?
Yes, so Councillor Oak called for a split. So the first recommendation would be that South Huron Council receive the report from Craig Metzger, Senior Planner for consent for severance, application C-58-2023, Morley Farms, Inc. The mover was Councillor Dietrich, seconded by Councillor Vaughn.
Okay, thank you. The mover and seconder is still there. Call the question. All in favor of that? Thank you. And Madam Clerk, go read the second one.
So the second recommendation is that South Huron Council recommends to Huron County Council that consent for file C-58-2023 be denied since it does not meet the policies for severance as set out in the planner's report dated October 5th, 2023. And it would have the same mover and seconder. So Councillor Dietrich and Councillor Vaughn.
Thank you. And Councillor Oak, you wanted to speak to that?
Yes, I just wanted to clarify. I'm not sure that Councillor Vaughn was the seconder on it, but Councillor Vaughn.
No, I wasn't. I don't recall that at all.
I'll second it for discussion purposes if that.
Okay, I'll just let the clerk catch up here.
So the second recommendation then would be that South Huron Council recommends to Huron County Council that consent for file C-58-2023 be denied since it does not meet the policies for severance as set out in the planner's report dated October 5th, 2023. Moved by Councillor Dietrich, seconded by Councillor Oak.
And Councillor Oak, go ahead, please.
Yes, so Thank you, Mayor. I guess I'm not in favor of denying this this application. I believe there's been precedent set in other areas in the county on this, where somebody owns another house in the county. So it's not somebody that's building something here new, it's already there. I agree with the idea that we have to make sure that the property lines are such for the shed, and adjust the property line. But I would like to recommend this to county council.
So you're amending it to approve then?
Yes, I would like to amend that this application be approved instead of denied, or recommended instead of denied.
Madam Clerk, we'll let you get caught up there. We'll just let Madam Clerk get caught up and we'll proceed with more discussion here in a moment.
So another option for council would be if they wish to vote on this motion, and should it be defeated, we could make a new motion to approve. If that's how council would wish to proceed instead of amending.
Mr. Oak, did you want to?
That would be fine with me, that we go to vote on the original recommendation.
Very well, and just for clarity, I'll have the Madam Clerk read that so we totally understand.
So the recommendation that you would be voting on would be that South Huron Council recommends to Huron County Council that consent for file C-58/2023 be denied, since it does not meet the policies for severance as set out in the planner's report dated October 5th, 2023. And you have a mover, Councillor Dietrich, and seconded by Councillor Oak.
Thank you. So moved. Discussion, Councillor Vaughn, go ahead.
Yes, I did have a question. This I think is of Craig. And so just thinking about the future here, supposing we recommend in favor eventually of letting this be severed. In the future, if this farm parcel were to be sold, would or it might not even need to be sold, would there be an ability to create a new residence for this farm property elsewhere on the farm? Because now we have a farm without a residence. Could someone come along in the future and ask that a residence be built?
Mr. Metzger?
Well, the first thing that happens, one of the requirements is that if it's severed off as a surplus farmhouse, the remaining farmland gets rezoned to prohibit a residence. That's one of the requirements of the provincial policy statement. You have the exception that allows the house to be severed, but the requirement is that the remaining farmland cannot have a house ever. So we do that by rezoning it. The question is, could somebody ask? Yes, they could ask to have that zone change to permit a residence. But to do so would not meet the requirements of the provincial policy statement, and the planner would point that out and recommend that that zoning amendment be denied. But they could ask.
Okay, and so it would come back to a council, future council at any rate, because we've rezoned it to not allow for residents. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And any other questions? Councillor Dietrich, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. How long has this provincial policy been in place?
Mr. Metzger?
We must be getting close to 20 years, if not more than that.
Well, I remember when Stephen Township was Stephen Township, they went through this severance business the same, eh? And the first farm out of the village was allowed to have the severance. then after that, like, but is there a policy still around someplace that Stephen had put together? Or is that just kind of yesterday?
And Mr. Downs and Dietrich will answer the question, but we're kind of getting off topic a little bit with the policy history. Mr. Metzger, could you answer that?
Yes, the Stephen Township secondary plan has been repealed and it was replaced with the South Huron official plan. So there would have been previous policies related to surplus farmhouse severances in the various townships across the county. They will have been modified over the years to come into consistency with the provincial policy statement and the latest version of the county official plan.
Okay, any other questions then before we reread the recommendation, the motion here? Yes, okay, could you please reread that so we're clear on what we're doing here?
So the recommendation on the table is that South Huron Council recommends to Huron County Council that consent for file C-58 2023 be denied since it does not meet the policies for severance as set out in the planner's report dated October 5th, 2023, moved by Councillor Dietrich, seconded by Councillor Oak.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion, I'll call a question. All in favor? Opposed? That carries with 6. Thank you. Moving right along. Are you caught up? Thank you. Councillor Oak, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess now I'd like to make a recommendation that we are, a recommendation that we recommend to County Council approval of this application.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, oh, go ahead. You're just seconding it? Okay, just before we go that far, Madam Clerk, can you prepare that?
That South Huron Council recommends to Huron County Council that consent for file C-58 2023 be approved with the potential conditions listed in the planner's report dated October 5th, 2023.
So moved by Councillor Oak, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 6. Thank you. Okay, moving right along, 9.1.3.
That South Huron Council receives a report from Mike Rolfe, Director of Building and Planning, Chief Building Official, regarding 2023 third quarter building activity report for information.
And is there a mover? Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Neeb. And we'll turn to Mr. Rolfe. Do you have any comments?
Through you, Mayor. No, I don't have any comments, but I'm here to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Rolfe? Councillor Vaughn, go ahead, please.
Yes, I just have one relating to the detailed numbers report, the activity report. There's a paragraph down in the bottom right corner that talks about within the third quarter, 2 permits were issued with development charges that will be collected through 6 annual installments starting at occupancy. And so the total of those 2 was about $80,000, of which I guess we're collecting 1/6 of that every year for the next 6 years. So this may have been in reports before and I somehow didn't notice it, but I'm just wondering how it is that we are collecting over a 6-year period.
Mr. Rolfe?
Through you, Mayor. Yeah, thank you. And that's an excellent question. It is something new that I did put on the report for the reason being that if you look at the multiple residential units, we had 5 this year, totaling about $14 million, and then only $41,000 of DCs collected. So I thought I'd just explain quickly why there was such low DCs, and this is the reason. There's 2 developments, one being 15 Jane Street, the 20-unit apartment building, as well as 370 William Street, the 10-unit townhouse, stacked townhouse, that were issued within the third quarter, both of those being rental housing. And as such, both the Development Charges Act as well as our development charges bylaw actually requires, so they shall pay those installments over 6 annual installments, first one being at occupancy and then the next 5 years after that. So it's just information to council, just hopefully I was trying to explain why the development charges total in there was low. And then also for council's knowledge, this is the same process was applied to the apartment building on the north side. So they are paying in their installments as well.
Councillor Vaughn, follow up?
Okay, so this primarily relates to rental development as opposed to residential.
Mr. Rolfe?
Through you, Mayor. Yes, that is correct. The act specifically says rental housing as well as institutional.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Mike.
Great. Any other questions for Mr. Rolfe? Okay, very well. We have a mover and a seconder. If there's no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor? That carries with 6. Thank you. 9.2.1.
That South Huron Council receives a report of Jeremy Becker, General Manager of Community and Emergency Services, REIT Q3, Fire Department responses for information.
And is there a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Neeb, second by Councillor Oak. Any discussion? Councillor Neeb, go ahead, please.
Just more of a question, but thank you, Jeremy, for the report. And I had a few people in the public ask me about when both stations respond, both Exeter and Dashwood, and I'm just wondering if you can outline basically what happens when a call goes in for, say, both stations, for example, for that large structure fire, in terms of the number of firefighters and response time and how that process works.
Chief?
Thank you. Through the mayor, so when the call is determined that it's a structure fire, that is the protocol that we, it's an automatic trigger for a 2-station response. Right now, those are the only call types that we 2-station respond, unless it's deemed manpower issues or something after the first station is toned out for that.
Thank you. Follow up, Councillor Neeb, and then go with Councillor Oak.
Nope. Thank you very much, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Councillor Oak, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Hi, Jeremy. With the agreement we have with Lambton Shores, when they go out on a call, in our area, there's a coverage area that they have. What is the procedure with that that we've agreed with? If they go out on the call first, what is our what happens after that?
Chief Becker?
Thank you. Through the mayor, as of right now, the current agreement is that they handle the call, and if they require assistance, they will call the closest station. That's what the current agreement states.
Thank you. Councillor Oak?
And as a follow-up, that's considered automatic aid, or I know we the fire marshal meeting that attended there, there's a difference between mutual aid and auto aid.
Correct. So currently, the agreement that we have is an automatic aid agreement. So they provide the coverage in the territory that historically has been Corbett Line to the west, and mutual aid is mutual. There's no costs incurred either way, but the automatic aid agreement that we currently have is based on weighted total weighted assessment of that geographic area.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the chief? Okay, we have a mover and a seconder. If there's no further discussion, thank you very much, Chief, for your time on this one. Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 6. And moving right along, 9.2.2.
That South Huron Council receives a report of Jeremy Becker, General Manager of Community and Emergency Services, Fire Command Unit Tender Award, and that South Huron Council accepts the tender received from Jim Wilson Chevrolet Buick GMC Inc. of Aurelia, Ontario, in the amount of $64,000 plus HST.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb and second by Councillor Oak. Any discussion? Deputy, go ahead.
Just a comment, like, is there no dealers closer than Aurelia to get a pickup truck from? Like, what about the warranty?
BAB procurement. Chief, do you want to take that? Or?
Sure. Thank you. Through you, Mayor Finch, the warranty will be covered by any local dealer. So HMP will definitely cover the warranty on this vehicle. But as far as who bids on it, it's posted on the bids and tenders website, and as you can see, that we did only receive 2 bids, one from Aurelia and one from London.
Okay, thank you. Follow-up, Deputy. I can see you thinking, no, okay.
I just think we need to maybe look into this and do something down the road because like we're getting a long ways out of our territory and hopefully someone closer would bid on something like this. So maybe that's something that we could have a discussion with or bring back to get a staff report or something to move this along a little bit closer to home and get our own businesses to bid here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any other discussion? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I agree with Deputy Mayor. The process here was maybe more rushed to get a vehicle than waiting for one to come in on order because of the timing. I'm not 100% sure, and so these other locations maybe had one on the lot that fit our specs where the local dealers maybe didn't. So I'm not sure. This one was a unique order because of having to replace an existing unit that was being challenged. That's just my comment.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, not seeing any. We have, oh, Councillor Neeb, go ahead, please.
I agree. I think if at all possible, you know, we should always try to go local, but I think we also have to be aware of our own procurement policies and the law around procurement. We can't discriminate based on geography, and that's something we need to keep in mind. But of course, I think we should try to promote as much as possible buying local. But I think that's something maybe for all of us to keep in mind.
Thank you. Ms. Masul Calls, you have a comment?
Through the mayor, and staff are doing a review of the procurement policy, likely more of a minor review for this year, and then a more comprehensive review is scheduled for next year.
Great.
So it is on our radar.
Okay, thank you. So we have a mover and a seconder. If there's no further discussion, call the question. All in favor? That carries with 6. Thank you. 9.3.1, please.
That South Huron Council receives a report from Shane Timmermans, Manager of Transportation Services, re 2024 tender for provision of crushed granular M for road maintenance, and that South Huron Council authorizes the release of the 2024 tender for provision of crushed granular M for road maintenance prior to approval of the 2024 budget.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Any discussion? Councillor Oak, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Hi, Shane. Thanks for the report. I guess I'm just wondering, and I'm not against the idea of early tendering, but I know last year I discussed the idea of potentially looking at other options for the gravel purchase where we would actually contact the actual pits to see what their price was and to take a look at potentially for our stockpiling needs, at least our own type of trucking to see if there would be any savings that way. I understand, you know, the application of the gravel, that might be a separate tender. But I'm just wondering if we have explored what the cost for us to purchase the gravel directly from the pit. There are some truckers that deliver grain up to Goderich and are looking for backhauls to bring gravel back to the area for stockpiling maybe. Just wondering if we've explored any options other than just the general tender process for this.
Mr. Timmermans, go ahead, please.
Through you, Mayor Finch. That's why last year there was the FOB in there. You know, then we had the chance of picking it up, putting it together all in one tender. You're getting the best price available because you're going through more tonnage rather than a small quantity. You're going through it to a big quantity because it all tallies up.
Anything to follow up, Mr. Oak, or not?
Yes, I agree about the idea of you know, volume discount for sure. I just feel that just trying to cut out the middleman, because the gravel price is going up, and to see if there was a way to save some money that way. So just a comment, as far as I know some of the truckers will do backhauls a lot cheaper than maybe when there's a captive audience of somebody that's in the middle.
Thank you. Any other comments from members of council? Okay, not seeing. We have a mover and a seconder. So if there's no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 5. Thank you. Or 4. Thank you very much. 9.4.1, please.
That South Huron Council receives a report of Justin Finkbeiner, Talent and Workforce Manager, Dashwood Community Development Fund Committee Member appointment, and that South Huron Council approve the appointment of Darlene O'Rourke and Amanda Rude to the Dashwood Community Development Fund Committee.
And a mover, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Vaughn. Any discussion? Deputy, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I think we got 2 very good candidates here. So I look forward to them moving ahead and bringing some reports back to council. So I want to thank them for stepping up and moving this forward. And I want to thank Justin for all his work that he did. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you, Justin, for your work on this and the 2 members that have been appointed. And any other discussion at all? Councillor Vaughn, go ahead, please.
Yes, I'd just like to say I'm looking forward to having our first meeting, which we've not yet scheduled, but will be soon. So welcome aboard to the 2 ladies.
Great. Just any further discussion? Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 6. Thank you. 9.4.2.
The South Huron Council receives the report of Alex Wolf, Acting Clerk, request for services, complaints and bylaw infractions, 2023 third quarter report for information purposes.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor Dietrich. Is there any discussion? Councillor Vaughn, go ahead, please.
Yes, just in looking over some of the numbers on the report, I did notice that sort of running the highest, number 1, is 63 burial permit requests and 27 cemetery inquiries. Is that a normal kind of number, or is that like really high? Because it seems relative to all other service requests to be high.
Ms. Wolf.
So I'd have to go back to kind of do a count of previous years. For burial permits fluctuate. It's dependent on how many individuals are passing. Sometimes it's a little busier than others, but we do receive quite a number of requests for service, inquiries, cemetery related, whether it's an actual request for service or just general question. A lot of it's to do with possibly looking up family members who may be laid to rest there, or just general inquiries about family plots, the ability to purchase plots, things like that. So the cemetery is quite busy, and we do receive quite a number of burial permit requests from the funeral homes in the area.
Follow up, Councillor Vaughn.
I just when I saw the number, I was kind of surprised it was that high. And like, not so much for the inquiry, but for the permit requests. Just, I know we haven't really talked about the cemetery needs for a little while at council. And that just struck me as rather high, and perhaps was it time for us to talk about our supply in the cemetery?
Through the chair, just to provide a bit more clarification, burial permit requests, they do not have to be for individuals being laid to rest in the Exeter Cemetery. So it's for the funeral homes in the area will reach out because they need a burial permit in order to lay someone to rest. That may not be in the Exeter Cemetery. We do issue them for other cemeteries. So it'll be not necessarily the Exeter Cemetery, but it could be surrounding areas or further out. It's not specific just to our cemetery. So the burial permits that are being issued is not relate one to the number of interments taking place in the Exeter Cemetery.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Ms. Masuda Carlson, you have a comment?
Through the mayor. Also, I would add that this information is the request for service that come through the clerk's department and through the report it. Other departments as well do have requests for services as well that aren't necessarily included in here. We do try to collate it all together. So it does seem like quite a lot. But it's split up mostly through what the clerk's department gets first. Okay.
Thanks for that.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, we have a mover and a seconder. Thank you to our staff for the explanation and call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 6. Thank you. 9.4.3.
That council receives a report from Alex Wolf, acting clerk, renewal of land lease agreement with South Huron Automotive, and that South Huron Council approves the draft renewal land lease agreement with South Huron Automotive, and that the required bylaw be brought back for the required 3 readings.
And is there a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Dietrich, seconded by Councillor Oak. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 6. Thank you. Do we have any notice of motion?
There are none.
Item number 11, we have the items for discussion arising from previous meetings. Does anyone wants to discuss anything from the past meeting? Councillor Oak, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. The delegation from last meeting was quite interesting. And I just wondered if we could maybe come back to council staff report that outlining some of the things that are going on in South Huron right at the moment with housing initiatives. Just a reminder to everybody as far as county housing projects, some of the things that have come out of the latest bills where there's 2nd and 3rd unit potential on some of the properties. And just as a wrap up, after the next couple weeks, there's the open house this week for the zoning changes and then a public meeting. So maybe a staff report to follow up after all those things, just to give us an update on initiatives that are going on in South Huron here towards homelessness.
Ms. Masuda Carlson.
Well, I would like to add through the mayor. Some of the stuff I just want to let everybody know that October 18th is an open house for our housing update. And then there is the November 6th public meeting as well, that it will be coming up. We can do some kind of an overarching report, knowing that there are a lot of initiatives at the county level, although the municipality has been involved in quite a few little initiatives, especially community safety and well-being. There are a few items that we can bring forward to council. Yeah, a resolution would be great then.
I'd make that resolution for a staff report to include those items.
Okay, very well. We'll let our Madam Clerk get caught up to that point, and then we'll ask for a seconder. Ms. Masuda Carlson, go ahead.
Just for clarification, would that be municipally led or just initiatives within South Huron? That could be either through the county or in partnership with the county.
Ms. Rook.
I think not necessarily municipally led because there's some things that the province has introduced as well as far as 2nd and 3rd unit rentals, and maybe include an update of what's going on in Huron Park as part of the housing as well. So
Very well. We'll let Ms. Wolf get caught up here.
The council direct a staff report be brought back to outline initiatives including housing options, combating homelessness within South Huron.
Councillor Oak, you satisfied with that?
Sure.
So moved, seconded by Councillor Neeb. Any discussion? And Councillor Neeb, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mayor Finch. And I don't know if this needs to be added into the resolution, but one of the things that that council has been investing in is the connection center through the United Way. And I'm not sure if, I can't remember if they've visited us this year or last year, but I'm wondering if maybe we can invite them to come back, or whether we could get some information as well about updates with the connection center in town.
Okay, very well. Are you adding that? Go ahead.
That South Huron Council direct a staff report be brought back to outline initiatives, including housing options and updates regarding the Connection Center, combating homelessness within South Huron.
And Councillor Neeb and Councillor Oak are both satisfied with that. Very well. Any further discussion? Call the question, all in favor? And that carries a 6. Thank you. We're along new business, number 12, and there's none. Mayor and councillor comments and announcements. Members of council, any comments? Deputy, go ahead.
Just a comment, and I've noticed it more because probably I travel the road as much as anyone, is the Kirkton Road. And we seem to be losing our 911 signs there very, very often. I notice they're down more than they're up, and it's no fault of the roads department. They just can't keep up making them because the numbers are on each corner are different. So maybe the public can help us out by keeping their eye on and watching and helping us do a neighborhood watch, because it is happening very frequently, and our emergency services are not local people. So they have no idea where they're going, which way they're turning, and that may be at some point save somebody's life. So just bringing that up, and I've brought it up at the Police Services Board, and they're keeping an eye, but the public can really help us with this. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Calls, do you have a comment at all? Thank you. Okay, very well. Any other comments? Councillor Oak, go ahead.
Just happy to see the business gala happening this week. There's, I think, probably close to a record number of nominations this year, so it should be a great evening on Thursday night. So looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Any other questions or comments or? Okay, so as far as the mayor goes, I've been to many different events and interacting with the public. I was at a lunch and learn on Friday at the Connection Center, and very well received. There was a lot of people there. Very happy to be there to represent South Huron. I also attended the civics class at the high school this past week and spoke to the grade 10s at the high school. Mr. Neeb's smiling there. So anyways, it was a good, very interactive group of kids. I think I've got my schedule down the way I like to present to them, and they became very interactive. So it was a very good group of kids for sure. We're lucky to have such nice people growing up in our community. And I just got an email now that I'm going to a school or two tomorrow to talk about Ask the Mayor questions. So stay tuned. If there's nothing else, oh, Mr. Neeb, or sorry, Mr. Oak, go ahead.
Yeah, one last thing, I just want to thank the fire department for putting on the events at Rona and the open house last week for Fire Prevention Week. There was a decent turnout at the open house when I was there, and I think they had good feedback from the Rona event as well. So thank you for doing that, guys and ladies.
Great, thank you. Nothing further. Very well. We'll move on to item number communications for 14. And if you want anything pulled, just say pull.
14.1,
Pull that.
14.2, 14.3,
Pull.
14.4,
Pull that, please.
14.5,
Pull.
14.6, 14.7, 14.8, 14.9, 14.10.
Okay, thank you. So 14.1, I intend on going to AMO and the Roma conference, in 2024. So I'm just wondering if we can make registrations for that. Anyone else interested in going? Councillor Oak?
I'd be interested in attending.
Very well. Anyone else? Councillor Dietrich, you wish to go? Okay. In London, Toronto, I believe. Yes. Okay. Sorry, it just says AMO 2024 Roma conference. So just myself and Councillor Oak at this time. Anyone else? Okay, do you need a resolution then? Madam Clerk, go ahead.
That South Huron Council authorizes the clerk to complete registrations and hotel bookings for Sunday, January 21st to Tuesday, January 23rd for the 2024 Roma Annual Conference for the following members of council, Mayor Finch and Councillor Oak.
Is there a mover for that, please? Moved by Councillor Vaughn, seconded by Councillor Dietrich. Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? That carries a 6. Thank you. 14.3, Councillor Need, go ahead, please.
Yep. Thank you, Mayor Finch. It's just a request for the Santa Claus parade that's being put on by the Exeter Lions Club and the Exeter BIA, and I'm just wondering if we require a resolution to shut down the street for the parade.
Ms. Masula Colson, comments?
Yes, if we could get a resolution for that piece, and as well, there's an additional ask for barricades. So I mean, perhaps the acting clerk could draft something up.
Okay. I would just let you prepare that, please.
That South Huron Council approve the use of barricades and the road closure of Main Street from Huron Street to Victoria Street from 5:45 PM to 7:15 PM on November 18th, 2023 for the Santa Claus Parade.
So moved.
So moved.
Seconder, please. Councillor Oak, any discussion? Call it. Oh, Councillor Need, go ahead, please.
No, I just wanted to thank the board of the BIA and as well as the Exeter Lions Club for putting on this event. It's a great community event, and since COVID, it's just grown every single year. So thank you to all those involved in making it happen, and also to the community for contributing floats and being a part of it.
Absolutely. If there's no further discussion, call the question, all in favor, and that carries a 6. Okay, 14.4, Councillor Oak, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'm just wondering if we could get a staff report on this to just give some options to us and maybe solicit some feedback from the BIA or the chamber on whether this needs to be a larger exemption of the bylaw to South Huron, or I guess just a report back making some recommendations.
Ms. Coulson.
Yes, we can certainly do that. And acting clerk will let you know that the legislation has changed since our bylaw was originally done. So there are some changes that she can bring forward as well.
Madam Clerk.
That South Huron Council direct a staff report back on the Retail Business Hours Act, including obtaining feedback from the Exeter BIA and Chamber, outlining options for council consideration.
Councillor Oak, so moved.
Yes.
Seconder, please. Councillor Neeb, any discussion? Councillor Vaughn, you have a question? Go ahead.
Yes, I'm not exactly sure what the act is called, but there's an act that also governs liquor licenses and so forth. And so not just the retail act is involved here. I think the liquor licenses might have something to say about it as well. Did a little Googling on the weekend. There's not, even in Toronto, there's not a lot of LCBOs that are open on some of these holidays, although they might have slightly different rules for the convenience outlets. Yeah, but I think that might be covered in the Liquor Control Act.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
So that South Huron Council direct a staff report back on the Retail Business Hours Act and Liquor License and Control Act, including obtaining feedback from the Exeter BIN Chamber, outlining options for council consideration.
Movers okay with that?
Yep.
Seconders okay with that? Thank you. Any further discussion? Call the question, all in favor, and that carries with 6. Thank you. Item number 14.5, Councillor Need, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mayor Finch. And I just was looking for a little bit of an update too on where we're at with the report. I think it's really important that we take our time and investigate all options and opportunities in order to ensure that our walk-in clinic continues to operate in the future. And I think we owe our constituents some time to do some investigating and do our due diligence to do this right. So I just wanted an update from staff as to where we're at and to see where we can go from there once we get the information we need.
Ms. Masuda-Carlson, please.
To the mayor, we are doing some research right now. We're actually meeting this week, end of this week, with the Goderich Clinic, and going to get a bit more information there. I anticipate a report sometime in November coming back to council with options and just with more information about different clinics and different models.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Nothing further. Councillor Oak, go ahead, please.
Yes, I forgot to put my hand up for 14.9. I just wondered if you. Yeah. So thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to maybe ask our CAO to comment on this resolution on illegal land use enforcement, and just wondering if this is something that we should support and to try to get some things changed, because just looking forward to your comments.
Ms. Masuda-Carlson, please.
To the mayor, yes, actually, this would be something that would be nice to have council support. We have run into a few, it's generally with infractions with the zoning bylaw, which definitely means going to court. If council would like to support this, I think it would be beneficial.
Councillor Oak.
In that vein, I'd like to make a resolution to support our recommendation to support this resolution.
Very good. Seconded by Councillor Neeb. Any discussion? Very well. Call the question, all in favor? And that carries with 6. Thank you. Okay, we're good. Go to our recommendation, Ms. Masuda-Carlson.
That South Huron Council received communication items not otherwise dealt with.
And a mover, please. Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Vaughn. Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? That carries with 6. Thank you. There's no closed session under 15. No report from 16. 17.1 bylaws, please.
That South Huron Council gives first, second, third, and final reading to bylaw 61/2023, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a site plan agreement between the corporation of the municipality of South Huron and Hensel District Cooperative Incorporated in the municipality of South Huron in the county of Huron.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Oak, seconded by Councillor Neeb. Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? That carries with 6. Thank you. Thank you very much. 18, please.
That South Huron Council gives first, second, third, and final reading to bylaw 62/2023, being a bylaw to confirm matters addressed at the September 25th, 2023 budget meeting and the October 2nd, 2023 council meeting.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Vaughn, seconded by Councillor Neeb. Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? And that carries with Milt, did you have your hand up? 6, sorry, thank you very much, 6. And very good, that carries. 19, please.
That South Huron Council hereby adjourns at 7:06 p.m. to meet again on November 6, 2023 at 6 p.m. or at the call of the chair.
Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Neeb. No discussion, call the question, all in favor? And that carries with 6. Thank you very much.